Hi, everybody. I'm Jed. I'm the SVP of AI and Platform at Dataiku. And I'm here today with Kaoutar from Sanofi, and we're going to be talking a bit about explainability, about data pipelines, and how the pharmaceutical industry is leveraging AI today. So can you start a little bit by educating us on how Sanofi is using AI today, and more generally, what it means to be a big pharma? What are your goals in this industry?
So yeah, first, Sanofi, our statement is that we are R&D biopharma company powered by AI at scale. So basically, our ambition is to shorten the distance or the timeline between the therapy and discovery. Because usually it's a little bit 15 years between when we start to search the molecule to have it in the market. So AI for us, it's one of the technology and opportunities to shorten this distance.
So what that really means in layman's terms is that you're having to make a really big bet on a couple molecules, right, at any given time, and it takes a very long time to figure out if that bet is going to pay off. Speaking of Las Vegas and betting, this is a very bet-heavy industry. So how can AI help optimize that entire process? Where does it fit in?
So first, the value chain, it starts from, of course, the R&D to manufacturing supply, then the commercial side, and then employee experience. So it's our bets was first on AI, it's everywhere. We didn't choose to put it on R&D or on commercial or on manufacturing, it's all on that. And of course, you do have some quick win where you see the outcome of AI quickly. For others, like the research, it's long terms.
What's a good example of a quick win that you've seen?
So quick win, for example, it can be on commercial or on manufacturing. If we can take the example, for example, on yield optimization, that's something that we see in real time using AI. How we can optimize our supply chain, how we can make a connection between scientists and the shop floor. So those kind of things are quick win. Or even the sales reps, how they can make decision faster, how they can push the right content to the right HCPs. And yes, for the long term, it's more on the discovery and the research of molecule. But even on that, today we are using AI on 70% of our small molecules, basically the chemical one.
Wow. And when we say AI, are we talking about classical AI, Gen AI, both? Where's the delineation there?
So it's all of them. Basically, because for us, it's not about hype.
Yeah.
It's about scalability, integrity, and impact. So it's both where we can put the technology for the service of the impact and the outcome. So there are some use cases and some domain where the classical AI works well. Others, Gen AI, it's a huge opportunity, and AI agents are more better for other use cases. Maybe, for example, I can take an example on Gen AI, like everything related to today regulatory submission. Gen AI, it's a huge opportunity. It accelerates filling documents. It accelerates, putting the right information on the sections. And even regulatory today, they are open to that. On others, like yield optimization, classical AI, time series, ML works well. So why go into Gen AI? Because the cost, the efforts, and the adoption are more complex. So
you've invested for 30 years into classical AI. There's no reason to throw all of that out just because Gen AI.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that I don't have requests coming from the business. Oh, we see opportunities on Gen AI. Can we use Gen AI? You have objectives, we'll help you, we'll care about if Gen AI it's the more suitable things or classical AI or even just advanced analytics.
Right. And how does explainability come into play here? I know explainability is a very buzzed up term, and of course in pharma, you really need to understand not just success, but why success is happening. So what does explainability mean in pharma, and how important is it to you?
So there is fundamental things on the domain of pharma because it's a really regulated domain. And the first step of it, it's AI-ready data. It starts by the data itself. And then it goes, yes, to the outcome. These outcomes needs to be trusted, needs to be secured, ethics, fair, eco-sustainable, and of course, transparent and explainable. Here where we have the explainability. That's what we have in Sanofi, what we call RAISE framework. It's basically responsible AI at Sanofi, respecting the whole pillar I just mentioned. And yes, explainability is part of it. And what's the funny thing that when we talk about Gen AI, there is a contradiction between explainability and Gen AI.
Right, it's inherently a black box, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what kind of tools or processes do you do to extract explainability from this Gen AI black box?
So we built what we call the AI Foundry. And basically every AI product are using the ecosystem that we have in this AI Foundry. 3 pillars, of course, AWS, because if we don't mention AWS, I think both of us will be out today.
They'll kick us off stage.
Yeah, we have AWS. And we have Dataiku, we have you guys, for everything around the data, the ingestion, the explainability of it, and the bias that we can do have on the data, but also on the monitoring of the ML. And the foundation that we are using, it's about Snowflake. So basically 3 providers to build the whole pillar that I mentioned on RAISE framework.
So maybe split up those 3 providers. Explain what each one of them does. We have AWS for infrastructure, Snowflake for database, and then Dataiku. What do you use Dataiku for?
So Dataiku is to make the link between the scientists, the data peoples, and the business users. So it's basically the front door for the whole scientist personas, MNS, I would say manufacturing supply chain expert, commercial expert, R&D expert, that they don't care about if I'm using Gen AI or something else, but they need to have access to the data, they need to monitor the data, and they need to build an ML and to use it without being expert on the domain.
Got it. And part of what I understand in your process is this desire to have AI-ready data. You've said that phrase to me a couple times in previous conversations. Tell us more about what you need, what that means. What is AI-ready data?
So AI-ready data, it's first that the data, it's a shared accountability between the business and the IT or digital team. Then the data, it's known, we know where it is, and we can find it. Also, it's something about data, it's shareable. Because we are moving in a new era where I am not building my product for my business, but the value of my product, it's cross-function. So it needs to be shareable with others' product to make decision and to be at the end available to everyone. So, and then we have something related to the data itself, which is the data, it's secured, is with a high quality, without bias, and trusted and safe. That's what I do mean with AI-ready data.
Secure, high quality, without bias, trusted, safe. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And to do that, you need, like, where we are using you guys is to showcase that, okay, we have this trustability of the data end-to-end, and we can share outcomes between product and sharing the data, of course, with the access control, but we can have this traceability and the explainability of what we are doing and the why and how I got this outcome.
Makes sense. Being able to show your work, basically. So, what do you think some of the biggest risks are in pharma when you're implementing these new AI capabilities? What do you really need to watch out for?
So we have one objective that I mentioned at the beginning.
Okay.
We want to reduce the timeline from discovery to therapy. And we have a lot of products that help us to do that, from R&D to commercial to employee experience. So, and to do that, we need to have a clear governance. It's not, because again, it's not about hype. AI, it can be used, yes, for several purposes, but we have one purpose. If the product that we want to build, that we want to deploy, it's not helping this statement, it's out of the governance. So that's why we set a clear governance, and that's why we set one platform, which is our AI Foundry, around this ecosystem. And the AI, again, for us, it's opportunities, a technology that help us to accelerate, to go faster with efficiency.
Got it. Yeah, I think we saw early on in kind of this Gen AI phase the inclination to put something out there because you needed to have some kind of Gen AI, right? And so early on, the classic thing was like the HR chatbot. And now we're moving on to maybe things with a clearer ROI, perhaps, a more obvious way of moving your very clear needle, shortening that time to value.
Yeah.
Makes a ton of sense. One thing that I hear often among clients is obviously around this governance concept. There's I guess a common governance idea is data governance, so basically who has access to what data. But then there's also a workflow governance, right? Who has approved of using this project, whether there's documentation, whether there's been a risk analysis. Do you see the need for both types of governance, or is there really one that's a lot more important?
So we have basically two governance. One is top level with XCOM members. Basically, all our AI, Gen AI initiatives, they go through this governance. We have what we call front door. It's the first entry point where every employee in Sanofi has an idea about AI that can change the world. We told them, okay, prepare your pilot ID card. What does it mean? That they need to have a business sponsorship, a high one at XCOM level, digital sponsorship, because we need to ensure that the value will be there, concrete value, and also that's in terms of feasibility, technical feasibility, it can be done. And we ask them to have commitments, short-term commitments. 3 months, you need to showcase part of the value. Because somebody can tell you, look, we will have 40 million BOI. Cool, okay. So in year, yes, in year, okay. I'm a little bit stupid. I will just do an easy, calculation. In a year, let's come back to a 3 month. I will give you a sandbox with the whole tools and show me the value in that 3 month. And of course, we have accountability of XCOM. So then people, they will, okay. I will not burn myself because I'm putting myself in front of XCOM, in front of a high senior leader in digital. And at least in that, we moved from, I can give you an example on commercial, we received 56 use cases. At the end, we landed at 2. They removed all the use case. When they asked them, that's the prerequisite before pushing your use case. So this governance is needed, because if not, just remember, in 2010, when all advisors said, if you invest $1 in AI, you will get $4. A year after that, they lost $4 for every dollar invested. So we can't go without this governance on the value. Then you have the other governance, which is related to data and AI, which is, I would say, more technical one, and about all the concept of AI-ready data. We need to understand the data because there are some issues, there are some risks, we have regulator and patient data, all these kind of things. We need to have this easy to digest data governance. What we call AI-ready data, it's basically the data governance.
Makes a ton of sense. So when we're talking about those regulations, with the pharmaceutical industry, you really have different regulations and different rules in every country you're going into. How do you manage all of that? That just seems like it's such a heavy burden. Do you have different teams or different ways of targeting, let's say, the US regulations versus EU regulations? Or is there a central governance team that manages all this?
The governance is central. Central governance.
Yeah.
Basically, it's 2. So the data team, where I'm heading that, and we have the governance with the Gen AI board, with XCOM members. And yes, it's at global level. Then you have sub-teams for countries level.
Okay.
Because you need them. They are more expert on the domain. But at the end, if you look to the whole regulation, there are a lot of commonalities. And yes, there are some specificities with which you need to manage. But that's why we have this global central team for governance, and you have local team, but they are working with the global team. Right. They are not reinventing the wheel.
But they are specialized in governance.
In countries.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I've been thinking a lot about how kind of the names of workers or maybe the names of titles are going to change as this stuff evolves in organizations. And I'm starting to see sort of a split of maybe 80% of workers in an org are going to be agentic consumers or users, and then 15% are going to be designers of these agentic tools or components, and then you have a 5% that's governance. Do you see that sort of distribution reflected inside of pharma organizations?
So
it's okay to
all
say
pharmas
no.
are not, I think, the same. I can speak for at least for Sanofi. Again, we have a purpose, which is to put medicine at the hand of patients in the world. So, and for us, the patients, it's not a US patient or French patient or German one or Chinese one, it's a patient on the world. So we don't care about the hype. We are not following. And if you look even, not only Sanofi, but all pharmas, they were a little bit late to embrace AI domain because of regulation, because of constraint, because of a lot of things. Because at the end, it's not only a quick win. You said that at the beginning. There are research of molecules long term.
Yeah.
So you can't do it just because you are changing role. And yes, I see that. There are some team, or okay, I will be agentic AI specialist. I am Gen AI specialist. But what does it mean, Gen AI specialist? If you are AI expert, you manage Gen AI, you manage AI agents. So there is no expert in the domain. So honestly, we don't care about the title. We don't care about the name. For us, it's a technology that serves an objectives, and we see if it makes sense to put it for some objectives or not.
Right.
That's why the governance, again, it's really high key.
It's interesting that you keep coming back to having a single objective, having a goal or a decision, a set of decisions, a North Star, a target to lead towards. As we look at other industries, I won't ask you to be an expert on them, do you think every industry or every company needs to have a single driving objective or should have a single driving objective when they're implementing AI?
I think it's a key. If the company doesn't have a shared objectives, that means that we will have more and more of silo, more, I will say, local objectives. But in mathematics, we do know that the sum of local objectives are, I will say, less than the global objectives. So if we want to achieve as a company an objectives, it needs to be shared one. And that's why we put this governance on AI, Gen AI with XCOM, because we needed accountability for all division. And all companies, they have a starting point of their product and they have an end point. So at the end, all companies, they have this shared objective that they need to highlight. For us, is this distance between treatment and discovery, and a molecule starts on research. But the research themselves, they can't put it in the market. They need to develop it. They need to manufacture it. And then they need to commercialize. Yeah, they need to commercialize. So the workflow of the data and of the objective is the same, but with different ways of how I will contribute to that objective.
We're touching the entire
value chain.
That makes sense. And we're injecting AI inside that value chain only in the places where it actually makes sense and pushes towards that end goal.
Right.
Perfect. So we're right about at time here. Any last words you'd like to say about explainability, about getting your data ready, and about rolling out AI inside of pharmaceutical industry?
So there are two things. One, it's we don't need to follow hypes, because every company has a context, has a constraint, and has, we'll say, a history, and we need to move forward with the whole heritage that we do have and to go far. So it's not about going fast, because alone we go fast, but together we go far. That's one thing. The other thing, it's biology in my domain. So not everything is explainable, but medicine needs to be explainable for patients.
If I'm going to put it in my body, I want to know why it works.
Exactly.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much, and I hope everybody out here learned something.
Thank you.